Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, this is Kevin Davis from the Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control podcast. This is episode number 9, and I am here with one of my good friends, Brian Guy. Brian works for, I'll go ahead and mention the first one first, which is Made by Brian Guy, as you can see behind me. He's got a ton of leather goods, and then he segued that into working for a leather company or a leather care company. So that's a sweet deal. So hey, we've known each other for a while. I appreciate you coming on board, and I'm interested in talking to you, kind of sharing your story and some of your business acumen and life advice.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be here, Kevin. Thank you for having me on. I think it's pretty awesome that I've had the opportunity to kind of narrow my passion. You know, it's kind of been an odd thing because auto detailing has been in my life for so many years, over 20 years, you know, and I don't want to say that I've lost passion, but my flame is not as big as it was, you know, and this has made it kind of difficult for me to be an active auto detailer. But what ended up happening a couple years ago is, you know, I ended up needing to keep my hands busy, and I found leather crafting, you know, and I was really grateful that happened, you know, that I found something that's going to help keep my hands busy. And for myself, this is very important to do. I can't just twiddle my thumbs, and you know, so it was very interesting that I found it. And then, you know, fast forward to, you know, working with Color Lock. I just love the idea that my focus is, you know, on a passion, whether it's, you know, making leather items or if it's, you know, working with Color Lock and, you know, talking about it. This keeps me involved into the auto detailing industry. And I kind of struggled with that. I didn't know where my position was kind of, you know, falling into the industry anymore over the last several years. So to be able to have Color Lock and to be able to have this narrowed focus is just like, yeah, full flame, you know, full flame. Yeah.
That's awesome. So walk me through, so you've been in the industry for a couple of decades. So can you walk through a little bit of your kind of auto detailing history and running full-time shop, and you're in Orlando now. Have you been in Orlando the whole time?
That's kind of where it all started from. I moved to Orlando in 2003, 2004. You know, and we had always played with auto detailing in the past, you know, but we never really got it going to the point where it was a stable business. So basically, when I made the move to Orlando around that time, we forced it to become a successful business. At that time, there was no Facebook, there was no social media, there was, you know, so I went through all of the hurdles of, you know, learning and teaching myself. Like anybody who's been involved for a long time, you have to kind of educate yourself and help to find these areas, you know, what it is that you're doing wrong, what it is that you need to improve on. But you know, I love doing it so much that, you know, the search for these answers was at a high demand for myself. So I had to seek out answers. I remember they had like the Detailer's Digest, which was a very old paper. I remember.
I think that's still around. I think they're still sending those out.
That was one of the first mailers, you know, that I started kind of getting informed with and seeing that I'm not alone and that there's a whole big industry out there of people doing it, you know. That was really great to see. But I spent the first 7 years of my business, give or take, in offering a mobile service, you know. I ended up getting a contract at a Class A business park for those first 7 years. This helped me constantly see the same cars over and over again, and that really helped. You know, I basically had a business park where I was an exclusive contractor for them, and we offered an amenity to their, you know, all the buildings, all the surrounding buildings. Here in Orlando, we have like Wyndham, Starwood, Hilton, Marriott, you know, all the corporate centers for all these places, Darden Food, you know, tons of different KB Home corporates, you know, so I got to meet all of these people on a regular basis. And basically I had a customer base of over 3,000 or 4,000 people within this business park. So that helped me again. It helped me be able to see the same cars over and over again. And if there was things I didn't like, if I didn't like a tire dressing, or if I didn't like the way the headlight looked, or if I didn't like, how the job I previously did looked, then I started
Mhm.
seeking out answers, and this really really helped by being able to continuous. I would see the same car, maybe some on a weekly basis, some on a monthly basis, and some on a couple months basis. But it was really nice to be able to have those interactions. So my story goes like this, though. Like, anybody who asks, it wasn't necessarily the detailing business, because when I first initially started it, I kind of had the idea that it was going to be a part-time gig, and it wasn't going to last forever. But the people who I met at this business park, uh, they gave me a sense of purpose. They enjoyed my company. They enjoyed my being there. They basically gave me a level of appreciation that kept me and a feeling of which is very important. We have to have a sense of purpose, and like they offered that to me on a regular basis, and it was that sense of purpose, that used to wake me up in the morning. um I would wake up and I would see faces, not cars. I thought it would be
Okay.
cool that we had an Audi or a Mercedes or something booked, and I was really excited about it. But I always woke up and saw the faces, and I said, I have to be there for this person. I have to be there for this person. So that was my drive, like initially.
It it's interesting that you point that out, because I mean, these are, so typically in our industry there's a lot of this, it's it's ironic because it's a very ego driven industry, but it's also a very like low self-esteem industry, right? Like there's this dichotomy, and most ego driven stuff is always based on low self-esteem anyway. But I'm interested because of what you just said, especially because you're talking about executives and
Yeah,
high end, higher end people, and then you are this quote unquote
yeah,
mobile
very,
detailer,
very low end.
right? That typically would not be
No.
interacting on a regular basis. So, like, so how do those relationships develop? And
Oh, wow.
just talk to that a little bit. That it
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
people are just people, right? Like I have a lot of different friends in different industries, different
Yeah.
levels, quote unquote, of
Yes.
society. And to me, and I'm older, you and I are
Yes.
similar age, but like it doesn't matter.
No.
And that's what,
No.
explain that a little bit, what you and,
Man, that was yeah, that's a really good question. And I actually had a phone call this morning from a buddy who was one of my very first customers. He's not a customer anymore. He's a dear friend, and I've known him for over 20 years. He's basically the sales and marketing manager for a company called Wyndham Vacation Resort. So he basically
yeah, just that small little
small
company,
little
they,
company,
they don't,
40 billions. Um, anyways, these attitudes, this class of people, I used to really admire how they used to get out of their car in the morning, toss me their keys, and approach their day. That was the biggest thing that I learned from them. I learned how to approach the day in a positive way. Um, that was the very first thing that I took away from being involved and having this class of people around me, having people who were definitely far more educated or far more succeeding in a work atmosphere type of situation. Because here I am, I'm just a beginner auto detailer, got lots of life lessons to still learn. So, but the biggest thing that I took was how to approach the day, and they also taught me how to communicate. They taught me how to manage my business. They taught me, they basically helped navigate my business. And if it wasn't for them, I probably would have done 1,000 other things wrong. So listening to these people and listening to the customer is very important for us to do. So if we're lucky enough to find ourselves in a geographical zone that has a good offering of people, um, you know, I always say, now that I'm older now, I don't say that it's so much the education as surrounding yourself with the right people and being the right person when those opportunities come about. That's more important. So But it is funny. This good friend of mine who called me this morning. He just called to check on me, see how I'm doing. It's been a while since I've seen him, and but I started cleaning his cars when he still had booster seats, for his kid. And like now, all of his kids are graduated in college. They all got cars of their own, and but I find it very incredible, that the relationships that I've kind of built from the beginning are the ones that have lasted. And those are, with my Orlando family here and my local friends, like these are my friends, and I've, as time went on, my detailing business changed and I didn't have the ability to take care of them as much, but they found value in the friendship as well, and that was important to me.
Yeah, we're in the relationship business. I think that's what a lot of people forget, is that whether you're a realtor or a doctor or detailer or whatever you happen to be doing, if you're in a service related business, then you're in the relationship business. Right. Like if those people didn't like you, or if you're kind of a dick, and and I'm guessing that you're a naturally inquisitive person. So I'm guessing that you approach them with a learning hat in hand, right? Trying to understand, how they got to where they are and trying to learn from that.
That is correct. It's a very open mind, I definitely had to have an open mind to this. And again, if I was the wrong person through all of this, I would have never have had a successful detailing business, So being that right person is very, very important. I always say that there's 3 prized possessions in this world. And I started saying this as I was going through those early learning stages, is that we have 3 things in this life that if somebody gives you the opportunity of to not mess this up, and that's a family, house, and car. Yeah. If anybody invites you into any one of those, this is a privilege. It's a real privilege. So anytime somebody hands us the key to their car, we're not doing them a favor. We're not. They're like, we're a dime a dozen at the end of the day now. But it's really that they have a massive amount of trust for us and they appreciate us. And we need to be able to know that, we need to be able to know that. When they give us the keys to their car, it's built on trust. So we have to,
absolutely. How did you, this is back pre-social media, this is Detailers Roadmap podcast. So we're talking about web design and SEO and yeah, I mean, I started my first web business when I was in 1998. So the web was going on. So I still own it.
HTML.
But back in the HTML days, hand coding Java, all of that junk. But that really wasn't a thing. So how did you get this? How did you get started? It kind of put in context of guys that might be, and girls that might be wanting to do it today. How'd you get that account?
So I actually, before I started I actually went to school. I went to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale when I was a little bit younger than this, and I was going there for graphic design. So I did have some understanding with HTML and Adobe and Photoshop and stuff like this. So I was one of those, first guys. Like I built my website, my .com, off of an HTML platform, and I enjoyed doing that. That was like a side hobby thing that I really enjoyed doing. Nobody had .coms really, this years ago. Right. People with websites didn't really focus on this. They had business cards and T-shirts and things like that, but having a website was more difficult, and it was always difficult for a builder as well. Somebody who was building a website. So I do consider myself in our auto detailing industry as one of the first guys to kind of stay up with the times of integrating an auto detailing business, and how to make traffic come to your site. So. And then fast forward a little bit, we got blogs, blogs started coming out. And as soon as blogs came out, I jumped on this, basically all the information that we can throw up onto the internet. And I was always, was the best way to showcase your work, It always left the customer with no question because they could see the results. So they didn't have too much, they didn't have too many things to ask. They just say, hey, can I book can I book an appointment? Instead of saying, can you help me learn a little bit about you? So having all of this information up on the web was very important. And then before Facebook and before social medias, we had, the forums, so I,
Auto Geek. We talk a lot about Auto Geeks. Mike Phillips and he's still got thousands of posts out there. So if you've never been to the Auto Geek forum, you should go check it out because it's still out there. And the content from Mike, Todd Helm has a ton of stuff that he put out. I mean, there's tons of information out there. But yeah, that's back in the day with the forums. That was definitely the predecessor.
Great, because this was a guarantee that we're not alone. This was really great to start getting involved in the forums. For myself, two of the people who I looked up to a lot was actually Richie Carbone and Bob Willis, who were mostly playing around on TeamSpeed, and some other forums like this. But I took a lot from those two guys, and I do and I do believe that those are the two guys who helped myself, knowing or not knowingly. They helped me understand value, like what is my value worth, So those are two of the guys who, for myself, who I really look up to, and I can say thank you. You know what I mean? Because I think that they kind of helped guided my understanding of where my value is. Because early on, this many years ago, detailing didn't have too much value. You know what I mean?
Right.
You were either washing cars because you enjoyed it for for next to nothing, or you figured out a way to narrow down a niche, and now you started really targeting on your customer, and you really started targeting a niche of a service that was of value. I mean, this is also before random orbitals, before before all this. I mean, if you paint corrected a car this many years ago, you did it with a rotary, and it was either hit or miss, so being able to correct a car with a rotary, I spent a lot of time obviously practicing. And I remember when these dual action polishers first started coming out. The first time I picked one up and I put it to the car, I was like, oh, and I put it in, I put it down, and I picked the rotary back up, and I was like,
that thing's not even spinning. What the hell is wrong with this thing?
So it took me some time to learn how to use even this machine. I had to force myself to learn this machine at the time. But throwing the stuff out there on the internet, being as relevant as possible on the internet, and helping to bring traffic to your website. I think that often in today's world, there's so much we dump so much focus onto social media that we forget about our websites. But our websites are so important that we drive traffic to them. So this will help keep your business alive by driving traffic to the website, figuring out a way to keep the bulk of content in an isolated place. This is very important. But it's so easy for us to throw a post up on social media and forget the website. I don't need it. So
yeah,
I would like to see this happen. In 2016, when I went through my medical mishaps, I purposely destroyed my SEO. I destroyed my SEO, respectfully, for all of my neighboring, guys who do an amazing job. I found myself giving out referrals a lot during this period, so I was just like, forget it. So I just blew my website up. And I took down all of my SEO. But I had to learn how to basically create SEO, and I've never paid for SEO ever. At least years ago, you were able to manipulate an SEO.
Back in the day when you could hide keyword text in white on the bottom of it, and and alt tags are still important, but I mean, it was a little bit easier back in the day. Now, I mean, dude, the algorithms change once a month, and how Google's indexing now with AI and the bots and trying to keep up with all that. I I mean, I have a fair amount of experience, like 25 years of it, and I still would not want to try to, I still need to hire somebody to help me with my
It
stuff.
makes it,
So
it certainly makes it much harder in today's world. And I kind of thought about that with my auto detailing a couple of years back. I was like, do I rebuild my auto detailing business? And I was like, man, like out of all my years of experience, I actually have to fight for it, and I didn't want to really fight for it. You know what I mean? And again, I a lot of my neighboring guys here in Orlando, I absolutely love them to death. So, and one of the things I've enjoyed seeing over the last 7 years now is just seeing them succeed,
yeah. Yeah, Orlando's a great place. I mean, and we talk a lot about mobile detailing, and I talk to Chris a lot about it because I'm like, look at something like Orlando and see how successful these, quote unquote mobile guys can be. They don't have shops. They kind of go and do their thing. They have this huge customer base, and Orlando is kind of its own deal because it's very touristy. I still have a vacation rental that I manage there, and yeah, it's so touristy, but there's still there's all these people that support that industry there, and they all have money,
sure.
and
There's a lot of money.
it could be a
I think
really big one. I'm interested.
I think
Go
it's
ahead.
much better than South Florida, in my opinion. South Florida is a kind of a different, South Florida's got a lot of money, but it's a different type of customer. So or Orlando is the perfect, recipe for what we.
Yeah, you're close enough to North Florida to get a little bit of, and there's more farmland out there, and it seems like you get less. I live like an hour and a half from Big Sky, Montana, which is one of the richest areas. So that's like where Justin Timberlake has a house, and Bill Gates, and big money. Our airport houses my buddy who I handed kind of my normal detailing business off to. He does all aviation stuff now on a side of his business, and he's doing like $100 million jets all day long because there's billionaires. But those customers can be interesting and different, and South Florida has its own thing because you get a lot of that, Northeast, New York, New Jersey. Nothing wrong with those people, but they can be a little bit of a different kind of customer than
you have
ones
to
in
be
Orlando.
very flexible, you have to be a chameleon, I think this is also another important topic to learn how to do, learn how to navigate your way through certain areas of life. I have to go to Mexico City this weekend. I'm this nervous, but also not. It's again, just be the right person. Yeah.
I like that chameleon. I've always described myself that way. I moved a ton when I was growing up, like once or twice a year. So I kind of developed this skill set. By the time I got out of high school, I was friends with goth people and jocks and nerds and take every social category that you see in high school, and I was friends with everybody because that developed this skill too, where I can interact with people on every level, like whether they're a billionaire or they're a custodian. And that's that skill set of being a chameleon as far as being in a service business is
for sure. I mean, we always see people struggling with this a little bit online, and the ones who don't struggle have this ability. They do have this ability to be charismatic when the time is right.
Yeah, and to interact with those guys. I think it's interesting what you were talking about with the history of detailing, and this was not like you didn't have 6 and 7 figure detailers like we have now. Yeah, back in the day, right? Like this was a very, and honestly, what's interesting is it's still a relatively, it's a low barrier of entry business. It doesn't cost very much money to get started. Back then, the irony is that it actually required, and people won't like this, but from a polishing standpoint, it required more talent and expertise with a rotary. If you've never detailed with a rotary, please go out and do it, and it'll make sense what I'm talking about. But they're required. It was more risky because you're burning paint and trying to get those, and you're chasing holograms, you're chasing all that crap. But yet it was far less profitable than it is now. So that's just
that's where I struggled, and like I said, I mentioned the two guys, Bob Willis and Richie Carbone. I remember they used to tell me on either privately or, I mean, occasionally publicly on some forums, like, Brian, your work is good. Raise your prices, do the
Yeah.
industry a favor. And like, this is how I started understanding that I had value. And man, I still remember the very first job that I did that was over $400, and in today's world, like $400 is like low end detail.
That's an interior. That's a basic interior, Brian. Come on, man.
And like, the customer taught me a lesson that day too. I had just got done spending 2 days on his car. I spent 2 days on his car, and he came to me, but I had made the arrangements with him. I said, "Look, man, I'm here for practice, mostly, and I want the opportunity to do more to your car, So I had the opportunity. It was the first time I spent longer than 1 day on a car, and I did his car. It took me 2 days, and at the end of the job, he said, "How much do I owe you?" And I said, "Man, I really don't know. This is the first time I've ever spent 2 days on a car." He was a good friend looking out for my best interest, and he basically said, "Brian," he's like, "this is how it works." He said, "What is your time worth?" So as soon as he said that, I understood that, at least for the time at that period in my life, I just knew that I needed to make this much money per day. So I took $200 a day and 2 days, and I said $400. He gave me $450, and I was happier than ever. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I could just made $450 off of cleaning the car. Thought it was amazing. And then from there, from like that point on, the confidence to spit the numbers out grew better, because it wasn't easy to throw out a number at that time that was this high, and then, then you get to a point where you're like, yeah, it's $900, and, oh, it's $1,000, now you say it with a level of confidence, and that's a learning experience as well,
Yeah. And like you're saying, you have to, you at that time had a number in mind, for what you wanted. And it was relatively low at that time, but that's one of the problems I think so many people have, is really knowing what that number, not only they want it to be, but what it needs to be, because they don't necessarily know what those numbers are. And now we're like, oh, full PPF job for $17,000. It's the numbers have gotten pretty crazy, but I mean, that's good. That's good for an industry. It's good for the people that, I think now people have to be such a better business person than they were back then. I mean, I think
it's incredible that, and it's just happened here over the last couple of years, is detailers have brought in PPF and learned how to do it themselves. Little things like that, these add-ons to learn how to, stop contracting it out, learn how to do it myself. And this was where, when PPF started to come into houses like this really helped to promote detailing businesses and turn them into giants, for sure.
Yeah. PPF, tent, coatings obviously have been a huge moneymaker. And that's awesome. So speaking of add-on services, this would be a good, one of the segues into what Color Lock does. We were having a conversation on one of the Facebook groups this morning about interior work, right? And I think interiors, just as a concept, become kind of, I described it as, I don't understand why these interiors are always considered less than.
I don't.
And when Color Lock is big in the restoration, obviously it's a leather restoration type product, but it can also be color change. I hate the seats in my motorhome, and I actually want, because it's from 1996, and I'm always looking. I've been looking at Color Lock if I ever bite the bullet and decide to do it, but to color change the interior, and so that's another option. But talk about that service as a first of all, whatever opinions you have on interior work would be interesting, being from Orlando, but also just like add-on services like leather, because I don't think very many.
No, absolutely. I mean, on social media, I see so many people taking care of their vehicle interiors in the wrong manner. There's actually more wrong manner than there is right manner, at least here in the U.S. And so this is a difficult thing to approach, without getting beat up online. So,
yeah. Well, talk about it. Like what's wrong? What's the wrong manner and what's the right manner? And obviously it's
absolutely. I think that the first thing is that there's so much misconception around types of leathers, hey, my BMW has this type of leather, is this safe on my car, is this, so there's a lot of misconception around leathers, and from the consumers and for the detailers, is what, and then obviously what is leather, and with leather, there's a certain way to approach it. With vinyl, there's a certain way to approach it, and so I like to simplify it. So basically, with Color Lock is also known as Leader Zentrum. Leader Zentrum is actually the manufacturer. Color Lock is the brand. So Leader Zentrum has been supplying pigments, top coats, doing leather work, and supplying the tanneries that are producing the automotive leathers. They've been in this market for a very long time. So and they're definitely one of the higher end manufacturers, and there's a lot of companies that seek them out for providing their own products. But Leader Zentrum is the manufacturer, so they're both one and the same. Leader Zentrum is meaning the center of leather, and the company has all forms of leather care. Myself being involved with another company for many years, same situation. I was aware of this relationship, and I was aware of this how the products maneuvered through it. So effectively, I've been working with Color Lock and doing Color Lock repairs on my own in my detailing business for 15 years now. But fast forward, now is now I'm getting more involved with the actual repair side of things, and Color Lock does two things. We offer a DIY approach, and we offer a professional approach. So both of them offer great results and great leather care. The first thing we need to do is identify what is leather, what is vinyl. I think that this is a big misconception, and hopefully over the time that I'm here with Color Lock, and my time moving forward with Color Lock, these are some things that I want to help people narrow down and understand that what it is, because then we can simplify it. I look at it like this way, because I do leather, and there's two kinds of leather. We got vegetable tan leather and chrome tan leather.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know what either of those are. Like, I know nothing about leather.
Chrome tan is what's in our cars. Vegetable tan leather is more of a like a natural finish, and it's
Okay.
it's
Yeah, I have a backpack from a company called Saddleback Leathers that was very expensive, and it was a reward to myself. But it's a vegetable.
Yeah. So these are your premium leathers. These are, in my eyes, real leather. Automotive leathers, as we fast forward, because even in our cars, if we think back to the old Camaros, the old Novas, Chevelles, things like this. If we just look at the seats, and we all know this car. You have the Shelby, for example.
Yep.
Like these leathers that were produced then, if we look at how the tannin process has evolved just over the last 20 or 30 years, it's absolutely insane. So the idea with the automotive manufacturer is to produce a more durable leather at a much faster rate, So this is where manufacturers are really focusing on, being able to produce. So they take away from those traditional tannin methods, and what ends up happening is that we end up with more synthetic types of leathers, but they're more durable,
And those are multi-layer, like what they refer to as faux leather kind of a thing. Are those veneer type?
I mean, they're still classified as leathers, but through the tannin process, how they kind of manipulate a certain thing out of it is, through a tannin process, they have many different ways to make leathers, but at the end of the day, it's an organic material. It came from a cow, So we always have to kind of understand this, that if it did come from a cow, it is a skin, how are we going to care for skin? I certainly wouldn't take a steamer to my skin, or things like this. How much moisture has an effect on skin, how much conditioners have an effect on skin. So if we kind of simplify the idea of caring for leather, but This kind of helps with us understanding how we should care for the car, you know. Um,
Okay.
but basically with the color lock system is we're basically repeating the tannin process, you know. So if there's a damage on it, we can fix it. But you know, in the leather care, the cleaning and the this and that is you know, the simple ways of doing it, adding some color back to it when we see missing color. Effectively our approach is just repeating exactly what the tannery did. Yeah. So this is kind of our repair approach, you know, and this allows the leather to stay in its most malleable, most desirable condition. If we were to walk through a tannery right now, there's guys walking around because leather's soak in water for a long period of time for them to be able to be produced. But if we were to walk through a tannery right now, one of the main jobs there is to constantly check the pH of the water content. You know, the pH has to be just right for the leather to be produced. So, basically 5 to 5.5 is the comfortable position for leathers. You know, this is where leather is most desirable, it's the most malleable. So if we take out the equation of what kind of leather it is, and if we just know that like 5 to 5.5 is a comfortable spot for the leather, then like this kind of helps us understand where moisture is. A lot of the times we see bolsters with a lot of dryness, you know, and this happens very easily because our butt gets wet. We got rained on. We just came out of the beach, this and that, and our seats take a lot of abuse. Just any form of moisture that we apply to the seat has the ability to affect the pH of the leather, the collagen.
And that's a long term.
Correct.
So, like if you're steaming, for example, which I've actually steamed a lot of car seats, which is, you know, it doesn't say, it sounds like that may not be the best method, but you're injecting what is, I mean, even RO water and all that, like, because 5.5 would be considered basic, right? It's on the base side versus the acidic side. So, and I don't know what the pH of most water is, probably 7, something like that, somewhere in there, 7.2. And so by injecting that relatively more acidic water into it, it changes the pH of the leather, and it just stays that way as it dries out, or is it just detan it or whatever?
Well, with cars, they go through a lot more climate changes. So like here in Orlando, for example, it rains at 3 o'clock, as you know, and then the sun comes out and it's beating hardcore again at, just minutes later. So that rapid change in climate doesn't allow the leather to settle at its pace that it wants to, so when we have rapid changes in climate, these things kind of don't necessarily help. The climate is definitely a factor in how our leathers wear, and it's going to be geographically different depending on where we're at.
Yeah, so like when my seats are 40 below zero, when I go to the store and then I get in and turn my seat heaters on and turn my heater on, that's probably a bad thing.
But as like, I'm kind of curious, Kevin, that if we were to fast forward 10 or 15 years from now, I don't think we're going to be sitting on leather anymore.
Yeah, they're doing more plant-based materials. Like I know some of the earlier generations, I hated cleaning interiors, and we did a ton of them. Early generations of the Prius had like soy-based, like it was all this soy-based plant material and all that, which made it quite difficult to clean. So yeah, it seems like that we're moving more in a direction like that.
Correct.
With simple.
Well, and we got this popular term vegan leather right now, and vegan leather doesn't necessarily mean something of how it was made. Yes, it's different, it's a synthetic leather, but the reason why it's called vegan leather is because it actually has a 7-year decomposition rate.
Yeah, that's not good. I keep my vehicles for like 20 years. So. One day I'm just going to get in and my seats are going to look like my crappy office chair.
Well, like a lot of Tesla guys have problems with their steering wheels. I know guys who track their Teslas, or they're doing, if they're tracking their Tesla, or if they're a quarter mile in their Teslas, this hand grip is really
Yeah.
intense, and like the body sweat. So like I've seen guys with Teslas have to swap their steering wheels out because the steering wheel effectively starts to fall apart rather rapidly.
Wow.
But the idea of it is that if we took a Tesla seat out and threw it in the woods, it's going to decompose, at a much, if it was leather, it's going to take a really, really, really long time for it, do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you find these barn finds or you find these vehicles that are sitting out and it'll be, the quarter panels and everything and the rockers are all
Yeah.
rusted out, but the seats are still, unless the mice are eating them. But so if you're not going to use steam, what do we?
Well, effectively, we want to use a leather cleaner that has a similar pH content, and the less moisture, the better. At the end of the day, anything can cause a result of cleaning. You can take a cleaner of any kind and you can cause a result of cleaning, and it will become clean. For the customer, they say, "Oh, wow, thank you." But we have to think about the long-term effects of what's taking place when we are cleaning leather. And so if we do clean a leather that has a proper pH content to it, then this is fine, so, and then there's lots of bottles out there that have the proper pH content, there's definitely lots of bottles out there that have the proper pH content. So I don't want anybody to think that, that what they're using, it might be wrong, because also it could be very well right. So, but the idea of cleaning the leather is to have less moisture, clean the surface. We have to understand that this surface is also a pigmented surface too. It's a lot like, one of the easy ways I try to relate to it is that if we have a car, and I'm polishing a quarter panel, and if I burn through the paint and I hit the paint now, I cannot fix that, and that was all done through abrasive actions, the lucky thing that we have the ability to do with leather is, and leathers, as they're brand new, they basically have a polyurethane top coat on them. It was pretended to clear coat, and that is protecting the pigment, the color that's on top of the leather. So effectively, if we think about it just like the exterior, every time we get in and out of the car, we're effectively abrading away at it, and this is where we start to see fading in bolsters. We start to see fading in certain areas of the car. If we're cleaning something and we pick up color in like our rag, it's because we breached that clear coat, and now we're on top of the pigment. So these pigments, there is safe cleaning products out there for the pigments as well, and this is again in nature to that 5 to 5.5 pH. You can go a little bit stronger for older leathers on the pH side. And a lot of that is due to body oils, because sometimes you do need something a little bit stronger to kind of pull body oils out of leathers. It's a porous material still. So, you can use a slightly stronger cleaner, but at the end of the day, less moisture. So, at least with Color Lock, we have foaming capsules. This helps to keep the spray down, because if I spray directly to a porous material, it just gives the viscosity of the fluid a better chance. If it's a brand new car, we don't have to worry about this so much. If it's an older car that's already got the wear and tear to it, then we should consider this. Excuse me. We should just consider this a little bit more with our approach to cleaning it.
Which would be the same as if you're taking, if you're
Correct.
polishing paint, right? Like if you don't know if that car's been polished 7 times or
Correct.
one time or never. And so, that's where you're, unfortunately, we don't have a depth gauge for leather. That would be kind of nice, so you could see how old they are.
The thing is that we have the ability to put back what is missing, unlike the exterior. I know if I burn through a paint, I just have a sorry, and we'll take it to the body shop, get it resprayed, and this is how you go about it. But if we go through the leather, this is just normal wear and tear. This is perfectly normal. But we have the ability to put that back through, some of these products. Which is what I find very cool. When it comes down to the leather repair, the professional side to leather repair, the best way I can kind of think of an analogy with that is if we punch a hole through the drywall, it's very easy to plaster it and paint it, and now we fix the hole. but can we make that hole look like it was never there? This is where the craftsmanship side to professional leather repair comes into play. How much time are you willing to spend into really manipulating the texture and to, make it look as seamless as possible, make it look like it never happened. So that's where is, like there's nothing wrong with either approach. The DIY approach or the professional approach, they're both a benefit to the leather, absolutely.
Okay. So let's say, we're talking about additional services. So let's say if I'd be interested in bringing, because we kind of think of leather repair as like the parking lot monkeys out there doing mobile repairs, and they only have to last until they sell the car and all that, which is not the case if you're doing this in your shop. What's that process look like? What's the ROI look like? The cost of doing it, how much training do I have to do? Those kind of things. Like if I'm because I'm thinking there may be people out that are listening to this that say, man, I love color lock, or I love these different systems, and I'd like to bring this in as an additional service, but I'm not sure, quote unquote, if it would be worth it.
Correct. And that's a very important thing to consider, So if my detailing business has a very high focus on film, wraps, tint, this and that, and I don't have the time to focus on the professional side of things, basically you take the simple approach, you take the simple approach to this, and you still provide the leather with great care, but you don't invest into professional leather repair. Now, investing into professional leather repair is far cheaper than investing into an auto detailing business. far cheaper. So it can be a benefit, but you have to be able to dedicate the time to it. So basically for, around $2,500, I can start up a repair business, no problem. You know what I mean? And now I can fix everything. With an auto detailing business, you're going to need a lot more. I can think a couple machines and a couple pads and some towels, and now I'm already over $2,500.
Right.
So, in retrospect, doing leather repair is actually very cost effective. It is most important just to understand if the time is allowed, within business. If it's not, then, what I would do is I would help navigate a person into just getting a simple approach, which we have the colors for this as a simple approach. But the professional approach is very good to know. I think that I want to see a lot. We have a lot of stuff online. I see pictures go up online, for example, and the auto detailer is missing the opportunity to charge adequately for a leather repair. If there's a mobile guy out there and there's a situation in the car and the picture goes up online and they say, how do I get this out of the car? So they're sitting there on a job for, who knows what, maybe $100, $150, maybe $200, and they're getting the whole car clean, the whole car, inside and outside. And at the same time, they're trying to find a process or a product that's going to fix that. When the way that I see it is like you just missed an opportunity, because when you don't fix that or when you make it worse, that car is going to go to a leather repair guy, and a leather repair guy is going to charge at a professional level of, $300, $500, $600, depending on, to like do it properly. And now this leather guy is going to educate your customer, and now your customer is going to say, why didn't my auto detailer know this? Right. Why didn't my auto detailer understand how to fix the car? So it's a missed opportunity. I see this every day on Facebook, for example. Every single day is a missed opportunity when I see a leather post go up and saying, hey, you could have charged this customer $300 if you knew how to verbalize it and you knew how to do it,
Yeah. And so, I mean, even if you're a single operator, it's a little bit more difficult, just because of the time. What would it take? A couple of hours to do a typical leather repair? Not even. Okay. So it's pretty straightforward. So let's say an hour. So that's not a big deal. So if you're running a shop and you have multiple employees, you could actually just train one of those people. I have a special place in my heart for interior detailing because I live in a place where we've literally just now the snow melted and the first snow was in October. So like it's, we did a huge number of interiors and I've done I've flipped cars and always talk about how the interior is where
Yeah.
people spend their time, right? Like they're not
Yeah.
doing laps
No.
around their car, which the exterior is super important, but the interior is where they spend all their time in that. So that, for us to miss that opportunity, and if they've got a headliner that has a tear in it, or if they've got, which is a leather, but if they've got seats, the bolsters look like crap every time they get in and out of it. For me, we have this Grand Cherokee, this 2021, and I got black interior, which was dumb. But what happens on it's got this really soft leather on the arm rests, and the armrests they have integrated door handles in the armrests, and that gets this like skin oil white, and then like you get like fingerprints, white finger, and I'm like, this drives me insane. So like, if there was a tear there, that would drive me me even more crazy. And so, but I may be able to make $400 doing that repair of the armrest, where you take that to the dealer cost on that armrest is its whole integrated thing, and it's probably $1,800 or $2,200.
I got stories with that, but yeah, you're 100% correct. And the other thing to note with that being said is that the higher end the car, the more supple the leather. So these designers of the cars, when they have an idea of quality or luxury if they're in their process, they want to give the leather a more supple feel. So they have the ability to do this. This doesn't make the care process any different. This doesn't make the leather any different from the other piece, but just because this is a piece where we're touching it, they want to add this value of a softer feel. So with when they do that, basically it's we see this a lot with high-end cars is so the more higher quality the leather, the more fragile it becomes.
Alcantara and all that kind of stuff.
So and then with the opposite is that you get more durability. You get less problems. So it's like we would never jump into a motor and start cranking away wearing Rolexes or things like this. You know what I mean? We have, hey, I know to take this off. So, I try to teach at least my customers, that if they have a certain type of material in their car, to make them aware of it, make them aware of it, because we spend with detailing and we spend with car caregivers X amount of time with the car, but we don't get this car every single day. So it really is up to the customer to kind of have the awareness of understanding that, okay, I have this material right here. I know I need to be careful, us caring for it is another thing, but again, the customer does have the ability to damage it and, more.
Yeah, it's something to educate the customers on for sure. Well, that's definitely something to look into. I think that I may do another video about because I was already going to do a little video about interiors today, so I'll do a separate one on leather care and educating and up that. But so tell me real quick about. I'm interested in your. So first of all, you're healthy now, right?
Going strong.
Yeah. So that we knew we were friends, because I've known you since 2014, and so we were friends when you were going through. So we don't have to get into too much detail, but you basically had a cancer in your neck, right? Is that
skin cancer
where it happened? Yeah. So but it wasn't like it was a big deal. Like
it was a big deal. It was a big deal. I basically damaged myself very much so during those early years of my detailing career. All those years in that parking lots, playing with chemicals under the sun, swimming in the waters of, car cleaning and car washing all day long. It did my skin no favor, I had an issue on my neck, and it had been there for a while. And I went to my customer's house, and he said, "Brian, what's that on your neck?" And I said, "I don't know, but it hurts like heck, And so it's always stinging. So he said, "Do me a favor." He said, "Don't come back here till you get that checked out." I started getting it checked out. Basically went to go see a dermatologist, and had this relationship with a dermatologist for a couple of years. Unfortunately, the issue basically magnified, and what ended up making it a major issue for myself is that the cancer had grabbed onto the muscle, and at this point it had the ability to basically get into your lungs. And you can get skin cancer, and if it gets to your lungs, now it's life threatening. Otherwise skin cancer is not a big deal. Most people who get skin cancers, they get them removed and move on with their day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Myself, the problem that I've had is that now I understand, now I understand how to care for myself, but I still didn't do myself any favors, and now my body, my skin just knows how to create these things,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a constant battle, I'm sure.
And it led to a couple of years afterwards, like multiple other, treatments and surgeries and things like this. And, I started, when you're dealing with cancer therapy, at some point I started seeking out other answers. I was like, there's got to be a better answer than cancer therapy, So I look at holistics, I look at eating right, I look at this, I look at that. And, I started looking at all different kinds of ways to care for myself. And fast forward 7 years later, like I know who and what my body is and does. So, and even my doctors, they understand this about me as well. So as I still have a relation, I still have to go see them every 6 months, fortunately.
Right.
Fortunately, unfortunately, but the deal that I have with them is that, Brian, you let us know, your body well enough. So, if you feel like there's a problem, then like you tell us. So, but that was a hard thing, man. Like, losing my ability to say yes to my customers was so devastating. Like, it took me 2 years to understand that it's okay to not do a detailing business. It was like I'm going to the doctors for the first 2 years, and like my doctors are like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not okay." I was like, "I need to get back to work." I was like, "I have a passion. I have a, you know what I mean? Like I have a job I need to do, and like this is so interferent." And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. They're like, "How are you?" And I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, let me, you know what I mean? I just want my life back. Um, you know, and so my detailing business slowly kind of dwindled apart, and I had to come with peace to that. That was a difficult thing, to kind of come to peace with. But that was also around the same time that I started leather crafting, and and then that's when I needed something to keep my hands busy. And like that's when I started finding leather crafting, and I've only told a few people this, Kevin. Now somebody's gonna get the bright idea, but the first thing I did was I had my Rupes polisher sitting there on the table, and there was actually a piece of scrap leather from something I don't know why sitting there next to it, and I took it and I wrapped it around my machine. And I was like, how cool would that be? You always see these guys painting their polishers. I was like, I'm gonna make a leather jacket for this thing. So I spent about a week in the garage trying to figure out how I'm gonna, put a leather jacket over my polisher and hang it up on the wall. I never finished that project. By the time once I started going with it, I just pushed it off to the side, and I started diving into the crafty thing, looking into tools and products, and then it just kind of took off from there. But it was
You make some really cool stuff. I love, most you make a ton of hats, which I'm jealous about. First of all, because I don't wear hats because I'm vain about my hair. And secondly, because I have too big of a head and hats look ridiculous on me. So I could wear a cap, but like I've had like the bolo hats, and not bolo, but I mean like some of those cool hats that are on your wall right there. And I just look ridiculous. So like I'm way too,
dude. I was never a hat person, and prior, of course, and but the thing that I fell in love with it about it mostly is because in those earlier years of the medical stuff, and I got staples in my head all the time. I didn't like the conversations that I was repetitively having with people. I'd be in the grocery store, the gas station. Hey, are you okay? Oh, I'm sorry. And thank you for serving our country. All different types of, like. all different types of things what you said to me. So when I started wearing the hats, it's really changed the focus and it's changed the way that people communicate with me, which for myself, I like it like this. I would prefer to keep like what has happened in the past and I want to move forward.
Yeah.
You know, but I do love the idea that the hats have now changed the way that, the conversations, because it wasn't, yeah.
That's that's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's awesome that now the conversation is about the hat and about how the journey that you've taken to get there is really important. And it's little soapboxes. I think so many of the young guys, especially young guys and girls, discount the dangers of what we're doing from a detailing standpoint. Whether it's you talk to guys like Jason Rose and Craig and some of the lung issues that they have from abrasives and and then you see these guys cleaning interiors with a freaking tornado with no mask on, vaporizing chemicals, right? And it drives me insane. But I actually didn't really think about the fact that there's the old saying, if it's on you, it's in you. And so like just being with those chemicals all the time and having that into your skin is something to really be considerate about.
Just like those guys, I was hospitalized twice many years ago because of, lung damage, because of sucking in too much compound dust during the day, and we live and we learn, I think that our industry has done a fantastic job at, we have so many great companies out there that are, innovative and developing ways to help keep us safer. And it's slowly coming about, but it's also really, really nice to see. And I just love that the ideas of, even something as simple as a spray trigger, how do we use the spray trigger without making the callus,
Yeah.
So it's
right. Yeah, those dual action triggers are really cool where they spray in and out, or now they've got them where where they're atomizers and different things. Yeah, the technology.
It really is, so we got a lot of really great companies, so many great companies that are making ways, for us to do better jobs and for us to hopefully, keep ourselves safer. So I think the chemical understanding is only getting better as we go as well, so I still feel like we're still at the breach of getting a perfect detailing world. We're still at the beginning stages of it effectively. Right. I mean, Kevin, it wasn't that long ago that, we didn't have Facebook, you know what I mean? So if we just look at how much has evolved just since that time period, it's absolutely, and it's immense. Yeah.
Yeah. And with the new, with Rupus polishers and not having to, I don't know what the percentage of anybody that started in the last 5 years, my guess is 80% plus have never even picked up a rotary. And so and there's nothing wrong with that. Like it makes, it's a tool. The dual action polisher, DA polishers made life easier. You get better finishes, you get less wear and tear, and you spend less time at the body shop fixing burn throughs, right? That's,
I mean, the innovation with pads, I mean, yeah, so much good stuff, abrasives,
yeah, we back in the day we had, 2 or 3 polishes. They're all non-diminishing abrasives and it's just it's rough. Yeah, it's just rough. Well, hey, you're heading to Mexico City. Color lock.
We have a colleague out there who has an event at a convention center, and I'm gonna go out there and help support him. I just got back from we did a 2-week training at the Mercedes-Benz plant in Alabama. So that was very cool. That was a 2-week intense training that those guys got. So, but yeah, we do the training at Mercedes-Benz, BMW, here in the US. And, and then
that's cool.
Maybe later this year, we're trying to find a date and time, locations and things like that, where we're going to put on like a really big color lock event, try to put something together where we can, bring a lot of colleagues. We have A lot of really great vendors. We have a lot of really great supporters, but we also want to help to kind of bring some of our own kind of like color lock meet and greet to a larger level.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing everybody out at SEMA. We just got our booth space reserved as of yesterday, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so
Nice.
SEMA's a go. Man, I just love the idea that my calendar is filled up, Kevin. Like, right, dude,
Keeps you busy, keeps you out of trouble.
yeah, for myself, it's a breath of fresh air because, like I said, it's navigating through this industry, and I have so much love for yourself and everybody else who's involved. And is I don't wanna fall out of this industry. We have too many brothers and sisters that help keep this going, and for myself to have a part in it is so meaningful to me.
Yeah, especially, those of us that have been around a little bit longer, and longer is probably more than 5 years and you've been around a long time. But yeah, to have some of that wisdom, I think that hopefully comes with experience with an age. I say that as, I'm always the oldest guy in the company. So, which is fine. I don't mind that, but that's why I work out so much. So I don't look old.
When every time you think about that, it's like, wow, okay, I'm the old guy. Oh,
Yeah. I'm just the experienced guy, right? Like I must have more wisdom, which is probably not true.
maybe we still have lots to learn, Yeah, every day we always have lots to learn. So, but like,
so how do we find you guys? How do we find you personally? It's Made by Brian for your leather stuff, dude. And I'll just say right now, if you have not seen what Brian can make and what he's got going on, please check it out, because it's not just leather hats. Like he makes clutches and wallets for women. He's got male and female stuff. I'm embarrassing him a little bit, but it's amazing stuff. So I'm really impressed with it.
I use no machines, but yeah, and I'm not embarrassed to say I have an Etsy page. So
awesome.
By Brian Guy. I don't really list too much stuff. Best thing to do is just contact me through my Facebook or my Messenger. Give me some ideas and thoughts to feed off of. And my goal over the next year, 2 years is to be able to build an efficient leather crafting business. To where I can efficiently make items for people, and that's my goal. It's going to take me some time to build it, but it's an incredible feeling of being able to start over. I have this humble, very driven feeling, much like I did when I was a young auto detailer, and I couldn't be more excited about it. So I have a lot of stuff that I need to get done to kind of reach this point. So to be able to, and then obviously with my mixture with color lock, this keeps my narrow and my focus and my all of my abilities focused on this category of leather care, and helping people to understand how we can make these things understandable and better.
That's awesome. So Brian Guy, Made by Brian Guy on Etsy, Brian Guy on Facebook. We got, I'm sure you have Instagram and everything else. Colorlock.com, which is a color is spelled like the European way. So, it's COLOURLOCK, right? So colorlock.com. So Brian, I appreciate you being here, man. It's always great to catch up with you. I'm looking forward to seeing you at SEMA, which SEMA is one of those weeks I was like, well, how many days do we need to go this year? And every year it's like, well, we better stay Saturday to Saturday at least, so that we can see all of our friends and have time for everybody. And I'll look forward to that, and hope you have a great summer.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.